the stars, and the world is watching you. By your presence, you send a message to every village, every city, every nation. A message of hope, a message of victory.
Eunice Kennedy Shriver, a world changer for the disabled. Eunice Kennedy Shriver worked for many years to allow and help people with disabilities to be able to participate in sports. Shriver started the Special Olympics and left her legacy on the world. Now, in the present day, the Special Olympics still give opportunities to the disabled, such as jobs and athletics. The Games still support people with disabilities. Eunice Kennedy Shriver was truly a world changer for the disabled.
Eunice Kennedy Shriver is a pioneer who literally changed the way persons with intellectual disabilities are treated and viewed.
Eunice Kennedy Shriver advocated for the disabled in the 1960s by allowing them to participate in sports. Shriver achieved this by creating the Special Olympics and impacting people with disabilities. Her motivation for helping the disabled came from the desire to help her sister, Rosemary Kennedy, who was born with intellectual disabilities. Eunice Kennedy Shriver's lasting legacy in America has enabled millions of disabled to engage in athletics and be included in society. Growing up with 8 siblings, Eunice adapted to fitting in and being included around all of her brothers and sisters. One way that the Kennedy family would enjoy their time was through sports. Athletics were a major part of Eunice's childhood. She especially enjoyed swimming, sailing, and touch football. Eunice had an older sister named Rosemary Kennedy, who was born with intellectual disabilities. Rosemary often experienced many different challenges with playing sports around her family. Even being a younger sister, Eunice realized all of the difficulties Rosemary had to go through in her childhood. Rosemary couldn't hold a job, get a proper education, or participate in any sports, although she had the same competitiveness as the rest of her siblings. Later in Rosemary's life, her family secretly sent her away to a mental institution as her intellectual disability became more severe. Eunice knew in her mind that it wasn't right, and that Rosemary should have the same opportunities in life as the rest of her family did. This inspired Eunice to help her sister be able to participate in sports and other activities. To help her sister and many other people with disabilities, Eunice created her own athletic camp for the intellectually disabled, called Camp Shriver, in 1962. After Eunice Shriver started the camp, she saw how happy the disabled were to finally be included in athletics, and she decided she wanted to do something bigger to help the disabled, something that had more of an impact. On July 28, 1968, the 85,000-seat stadium at Soldier Field, Chicago was filled with 1,000 athletes in it. This day was the very first International Special Olympics. Athletes from 26 American states and Canada filled the stadium. Eunice Kennedy Shriver stood at the stadium podium, surrounded by friends, families, volunteers, and athletes. She stood there and said a few sentences that would change the future for the lives of the disabled.
In ancient Rome, the gladiators went into the arena with these words on their lips: "Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt." Today, all of you young athletes are in the arena. Many of you will win, but even more important, I know you will be brave and bring credit to your parents and to your country. Let us begin the Olympics. Thank you.
After Eunice said a few words, the Special Olympics began. The games started off with track and field. Athletes from all different states came to participate. Swimming, diving, throwing, and running were some of the events that were held at these games. All of the athletes that were allowed to participate in these games were people who were lacking in education or 2 years behind their peers, most of them being referred to as mentally retarded during the 1960s. At the end of a day full of athletics, games, and sports, for the first time ever in history, people who had intellectual disabilities were standing tall and proud on a podium and were rewarded for their athletic talents. Nothing like this had ever happened for the disabled before. July 20th, 1968 marks the day in history that the future for the intellectually disabled would be reformed forever. Now, nearly 4 decades after the very first Special Olympics, the Games have grown, and over 170 different countries around the world participate in them. The Special Olympics now bring together more than 4.4 million athletes to participate in sports and be a part of a community. More athletic events have been added to the Games, creating a total of 32 individual and team sports. These games provide different trainings and competition for people with intellectual disabilities.
My name is Mindy Watrous, and I'm the President and CEO of Special Olympics Colorado. Well, I think the thing that's most important for us about our athletes in Special Olympics is having the opportunity to showcase their abilities rather than focus on their disabilities. I think Eunice Kennedy Shriver really wanted our athletes to have the opportunity to participate in sports just like everybody else.
My name is Allison Hess. I'm 35 years old, and I have participated in bowling, skiing, swimming, softball, and basketball. I so enjoyed the Special Olympics, and my best part of the Special Olympics is the opportunity to do sports that I never thought I would have the chance to even do, because in my school years, I was not able to participate in sports activities.
After the successful first Special Olympic Games, the Special Olympics grew and became more popular around the country. The disabled were finally recognized now in society and were included. 9 years after the beginning of the Special Olympics, the very first International Winter Special Olympics were held. They took place in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, February 5th through 11th. This was another big change in America's history because it was the first time that the disabled were not only allowed to run track and swim, but they now could also ski and participate in many different winter sports. In the early 1900s, before the Special Olympics were created, there were no schools, clubs, or activities that the disabled could participate in. The disabled would struggle, and it would be hard for them to be accepted.
I think at that point in time in history, most parents were told if they had a child who was born with a disability that the best thing they could do is put them in an institution and forget about them. They often weren't part of anything in the community. They were often in special schools or in residential facilities away from, the general public. They were very often discriminated against, teased, bullied, and made fun of, and very much misunderstood. Our athletes are employed at a much higher percentage than the general population of people with intellectual disabilities. About 10% of people with intellectual disabilities have a job, and about 54% that are involved in Special Olympics have a job. And that's because they'll tell you they learn to be responsible, they learn to show up on time, they learn to be part of a team, they learn to carry their weight.
Starting the Special Olympics opened up many opportunities for the disabled. States and countries in the modern day now include the disabled. No matter what disability a person has, they can now count on still getting a bright future, thanks to Eunice Kennedy Shriver. So many times Eunice would get told no, but all of those times, Eunice would not take no for an answer. Not only are the disabled in America able to be included in sports, but now people from around the world, in countries like China, Brazil, Switzerland, and Africa, and many, many more. Eunice Kennedy Shriver was changing the way people saw the disabled in America and around the world. On March 24, 1984, the United States President Reagan awarded Eunice Kennedy Shriver with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Shriver was awarded this because of her efforts and abilities to make the world a better place for everyone, no matter if you were disabled or not. On August 11, 2009, Eunice Kennedy Shriver passed away. Shriver's dedication and hard work ended up changing the lives of many groups of people and individuals. Even though the leader of this legacy has passed away, her footprints are still left on schools, jobs, athletics, and millions of people.